We continue with beginning chapter 29. Chapter 29 is, of course, a continuation of all the other chapters. And the next couple of chapters are going to be very challenging. They may not fit into the paradigm that most of us in Western society appreciate and understand. Very demanding, as we will see, very looking very deep and carefully inside of ourselves. And we have to be careful in how we apply the teachings of these next two chapters. Of course, we're learning it in order to apply. That being said, we've learned 28 chapters till now, and if we haven't applied those properly, then this will be definitely a challenge. So at the end of the class, I'd like to kind of bring it to a level where we're at, because this is speaking about the Beinoni. And recall that the Beinoni is someone who takes full responsibility for their lives, so much so that they have mastery over all their actions, all of their words, and even meditated willful thought. That's pretty amazing. What they don't have is control over their heart, the feelings in the heart. And therefore, as we've learned from the last couple chapters, actually 3 chapters, 26, 27, and 28, is how the Beinoni can be down, and therefore needs to be besimcha, and the ways to bring that joy, because that's an attitude that we have to have in life, is one of joy. So we can have challenges of life when it comes to essentials of life, as we learned in chapter 26, of health issues, family issues, financial issues, and how do we stay afloat with joy in everyday life in serving God. So we dealt with that. How do we stay with joy when we know there's things that we need to fix in our lives, that we need to own and deal with? But sometimes that can get you down. How do you deal with that? It was the latter half of chapter 26. And then we spoke about thoughts, because thoughts are always gushing into our heads. How do we deal with the negative thoughts? How do we deal with them when we're dealing in our daily routine? That was chapter 27, and how we have an opportunity to do a mitzvah at that moment of removing negative thoughts. And then in chapter 28, when we are engaged in already a mitzvah and negativity enters our headspace, how do we deal with that? So if you're dealing with all of that stuff in trying to serve God, then the next step will definitely be useful. If you're not applying what we've learned till now, then this next one is going to be also something, of course, of importance, but it's going to take a different, we won't appreciate it as much as maybe we've learned till now. So, we're speaking about the Beinoni, remember, and we are Beinoni in training. And the Beinoni, what happens if he loses the spark? Loses the feeling. Now, Beinoni is still completely devoted in action, speech, and thought, in complete mastery. But again, the heart doesn't have. And what happens if occasionally, or more often, there's a dullness of the heart the heart has turned to stone. What does that mean? Not an act of loving kindness towards another. No, that's not going to happen. But where's it going to happen? Where devotion of the heart takes place. And where's that? Prayer. In prayer, which is duties of the heart, matters of the heart, it is in the heart and through the heart, meaning prayer takes place in the heart, because the whole point of prayer is that we should feel a connection to God, not just know that we are connected. We learned Tanya. That's of an intellectual endeavor. There we can know that we're connected to God. There we can know that we are valuable in our purpose. You can all know that stuff. But to feel connected, well, that takes place in the heart. So we should have that feeling. Furthermore, prayer is not that we should just have the feeling, but it's about turning the heart around little by little, meaning the natural tendency of the heart is to feel me, to feel my needs, to feel, my desires. Prayer helps us to transform that. I should feel not my desires so strongly, feel what I'm needed for rather than what I'm needy of. Prayer helps us with that. That's the point of it. Not only to feel connected to God, but to allow the spiritual part of my life be more real in my heart than my mundane material needs. So what happens if it ain't working, right? In other words, I've got a stone of a heart in this area that we're talking about. Furthermore, maybe I also have a heaviness of the heart that prevents me from waging a war with my animal soul to sanctify myself, to be able to as we spoke about, not giving in to our natural inclination and, delayed gratification, for example. And that's not easy. It's a challenge. So what do you do? So this is the advice the Alter Rebbe gives now. Now, remember who we're talking about. We're talking about the Beinoni. The Beinoni is this, mastery in the garments of self-expression of thought, speech, and action. But here we're talking about the heart, where only the righteous have that mastery. So it doesn't have that mastery. Not feeling it in the prayer. The spark is lost. Excuse me. What do you do? So the Alter Rebbe quotes from the Holy Zohar. And again, I admonish everybody here to be careful with what we're going to say now and to take it in the right way. This is about trying to deal with your heart that is not attuned and sensitive to spirituality, to godliness. We have to be careful in trying this, okay? Forewarned. So you give the Zohar gives a metaphor, and the metaphor is that if you have a fire going, imagine you have a campfire going, the kids at camp, and now you're making, or like Bomer, you're making a bonfire, and now you want to put in a big log. Well, the problem is the fire is not big enough. Excuse me. Hello? Come in. So the log is too big and the fire is too small. So what do you got to do to the log in order that it should catch a flame? You got to chop it up. into smaller pieces. Then the fire can take hold. Makes sense? Well, as we've explained, the Alter Rebbe doesn't say this part, but as the Baal Shem Tov teaches us, everything in life is a metaphor for us to learn from. It's about our connection, relationship with God. So this is a beautiful metaphor for us to understand our connection to God Almighty. And that connection, sorry, just someone here for... That connection is as follows. The fire of my soul is too small. The fire in my heart is too small to allow the big log, my body, my animal soul that's so over big in its desire, big in its agenda, big in its coarseness, that the flame of my soul should be able to consume it. No, it ain't happening. What do I have to do? I have to chop up the body. God forbid. In a figure of speech, I have to crush the body. In a figure of speech. What does that mean? So the Alter Rebbe says, the body is too strong, its agenda is too powerful. I need to be able to set aside an appointed time, the Alter Rebbe says. In other words, just don't do that, just because you're down at the moment and you're feeling lousy about yourself. No. Set aside an appointed to humble your body. Humble. That's crushing. To humble it. That's splintering it. To humble it. That's the idea. What does it mean to humble? And when we say to humble over here, we don't mean in a physical sense, the body. So you're not rolling in the snow. No. You're not, doing things of whatever, self-mortification. No. You're humbling. Actually, interesting. Today's Hayom Yom. Today's Hayom Yom. As the Baal Shem Tov says, that when you see the chamor, you see a donkey, that the load is too great, you have to help it. Right? It's a simple meaning means literally a donkey that's carrying a load and it's too much and it's gonna falter the donkey, so you gotta help it with its load. Unload it. Load it properly, whatever the case is. So here you're under a heavy load of your coarse, donkey that we're carrying around. So don't do self-mortification, but do have a conversation with yourself. In order to create what's called a broken spirit, a broken heart that leads to a broken spirit, that you break the spirit of your donkey, of your materiality, of your body's agenda. Not you're breaking the body in any physical sense. You're breaking the spirit of the body, because the spirit of the body is not allowing you to allow the fire of your soul to ignite your heart when you pray and so on, right? So recognizing, firstly, that, hey, the me of the Beinoni, is the animal soul, because it's the first responder in my life, right? Seeking self-gratification. I recognize that. I need to humble that nature of me that is seeking self-gratification, the animal soul in the body. And that's me, as opposed to righteous people, as the Alter Rebbe brings from Hillel the elder, that he told his students, he told his disciples that when he went to eat, that he's doing a favor with his lowly, poor creature, meaning his body, because he saw the body as foreign to him. And because what was not foreign, what was close to him, what was him, his divine soul, because he's righteous. You and I, not being righteous, who's the me of me, and of you? It's our animal soul. Meaning to say that that's my more natural disposition, is the animal soul within me and my body's agenda of, I'm not, when I go to eat, I don't feel I'm doing a favor to my body. I'm doing a favor to me. I don't see my body as being foreign. I feel it, as a matter of fact, feeling it a little hungry now. And when I'll eat, I won't feel I'm doing a favor to my body. I'll know the notion because I just learned it. But that's what I'm going to feel. A tzaddik feels that, not only is aware of that, knows that. So who's the me? Is my body, my animal soul. As a matter of fact, when we say the morning blessings, Elokai Neshama, the God of my soul, Neshama Shenasata B'Tahiri, the soul that you put in me is pure. Meaning the godly soul you put in me is pure. Oh, you put it into something. I mean, there's something there before. What's that? My body, my animal soul. It was there before. And I add to me a godly soul. Meaning, the point is, over here, I mean, they come, so to speak, in unison, but meaning to say is that there's me in what I am by default, and then there's the me of the God, which is the animal soul and body, and then there's the me of what I am and what I'm striving to be and to connect to, which is the divine soul. But that comes second. We call that Nefesh Hasheni. We call it the second soul in chapter 2, if you recall. So, meaning the point over here is that when I kind of look at myself, and this is in a focus of how to fix myself in the fact that I have a dullness in my heart, that I'm not feeling the spontaneity and the closeness and the fire of my soul in prayer and perhaps other areas too. So I need to deal with that. And the Beinoni is dealing with that by recognizing the me is not my godly part, is my animal soul, and I need to humble it. I need to humble me. Why do I need to do that? Because when I'll humble the me, which is, again, the animal soul and the body, then the light of my soul might be able to enter. I'll be able to have better feelings, healthier feelings, true feelings of the divine soul, of being connected to God, that my body is not allowing me. Powerful stuff. Let's put it in other terms for us. This Beinoni level. Sometimes we see that we're drawn by food very strongly. And, that we eat, maybe not in such a, we eat more animalistic than we do human, let alone godly. Sometimes we need to have a conversation with ourselves about that, to humble that nature. Here it doesn't mean don't eat. It doesn't mean skip a meal. It means humble the nature of that animalistic tendency. People call it pigging out, indulging. So when we indulge in the material world, we all, I'm sure, recognize that we're very indifferent to spirituality. The more we're materialistic and crass in our materialism, the more we're indifferent, a heart of stone, to spirituality. Here it's about the Beinoni and specifically about his prayers. But for you and I, it's not just prayers. It could be in other ways that the downer and what we need to recognize that where it's really coming from is the agenda of the body that is crass and wants only, crassness in a material way. More and more of it, more indulgence in it. But then when it comes to learning Tanya, you're not really attuned. You're not really, really there. Or when it comes to doing a favor for another, that needs some heartfelt, connection. Because of our crassness, it's hard for us to really give of ourselves. This is what the Alter Rebbe is speaking on. I'm bringing it down to maybe a level for us, because this is a very high level over here. But for us, that when we have the crassness, when we're overly indulgent in materialism, it has its effect. You can't just bounce back to be spiritually connected, to be learning Torah, and to be really attuned to it. Really, that it's talking to you. That's hard. Because it's spiritual. And you just got finished being very materialistic and very crass about it. So of course it's going to be hard for it to talk to us. Of course prayers are just going to be lip service paid. Here we're not talking about the Beinoni is not lip service. We're talking much higher level. I'm talking now where we're at. Of course there's going to be lip service paid to prayers. And lip service paid to other things. Because our heart's not there. Our heart is a stone to spirituality, to godliness, to a mitzvah, the value of a mitzvah. And I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to myself. Thank you for being there so I could publicly talk to myself in a sense that, as the Alter Rebbe is, we're going to learn in the next few days what kind of conversation to have with ourselves. We've just begun. But the beginning is the recognition of me and the humbling that I need of me. Yeah, I've got a godly soul, but that's not the real me in the sense of where I'm naturally at. Not and where I'm striving to be at. But we're going to get there. That will come after these next two chapters of where we're striving to get to, the godly soul. But right now, if the crassness of my being is not allowing me to engage properly in my divine service, I need to have a conversation with me. I need to have a conversation. There's a beautiful story of, oh my gosh, what's his name? So this is like in the late 50s, maybe early 60s. Probably in the 60s, somewhere in the 60s. Rabbi, he was the head of the OU at one point, the kosher certification OU, and the name hopefully will come to me. And he was studying to become a psychologist also at the same time. I think it was later the head of the OU, and living in Baltimore. So he wrote, he called into the Rebbe and to the office, the secretary, didn't offer his name. It didn't say, it's just a Yid from Baltimore, a Jew from Baltimore, and having a struggle with my beliefs and my commitment. I'm having a struggle. So, okay, secretary gave over to the Rebbe the message. Again, a Yid from Baltimore, a Jew from Baltimore. So the Rebbe came back and said that you should go and speak to Rabbi so-and-so and discuss it over with him. He said, I wish I could remember the name. It'll come to me, I hope. So he says, but I am that rabbi. And he didn't identify himself as the rabbi, right? I'm that rabbi. He was like flabbergasted. So there came the message from the Rebbe. Sometimes we have to be able to talk to ourselves, to deal with our issues. This is what we're talking about. A conversation that we're going to have over the next several days on how to talk to ourselves when we have a dullness of heart, when the crassness of our materiality is a strong, overweighing burden, and what kind of conversation? It's going to be heavy duty, yeah, just going to let you know. I'm going to try to bring it down to us in a way that we could deal with it on our level where we're at. I know now that. Please, Sharon, who is ready to come on? I need a new face, a new person. Come and share. Marjan, would you be able to do that? That would be amazing. She teaches with my daughters. Okay. David says, I know now that I need to have a conversation with myself at a different time than my struggle to break the log of me to bite-sized pieces so that the flame of my soul could handle it and deal with my animal souls, my negative nature struggle. Excellent, beautiful. Oh, Marjan says we're going to come on together tomorrow. All right. Wow, amazing. I know now that regardless of circumstances, I have to stay one step ahead of the body, right? And not allow it to have that kind of control. Eugenia, I know now that humbling my animalistic nature opens the path to overcoming the coldness of the heart towards spiritual matters. Excellent. Psh, very good. And I have to focus on my heart to be giving. Very good. Carrie, I'm dealing now. That's for dealing. Chava from Dallas. First time listening in. All right. Beautiful. Irma is going to share with us. Thank you, Chava. Oh. Hello, hello. How are you?
All right. I'm doing well.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Irma, please share with us.
Yeah. I know now that when I have a dullness of heart and I'm unable to indulge properly with divine service, that I should really speak to myself and find out what is going on.
Very good. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. You're in New Jersey or St. Martin?
No, I'm back home. I'm back on St. Martin.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank
All
you.
right.
God bless you.
Okay. Thank you.
Beautiful.
Bye-bye.
All right. So Irma just shared with us. And it's wonderful. Anybody else? If not, tomorrow's another day. Tim. Susanna says it's difficult to talk to oneself. You're right. You're right. But if we don't, then who will in the right way? I mean, you could share with somebody and have that person help, but the conversation that's going to be had over here is going to be like a very strong. Going to be strong. So it's not really for another person. It's for me to be really honest with myself. All right. We're going to continue our conversation together and the conversation with ourselves as a Tanya is a ongoing concern in our lives. That's what it is. Beautiful. All right. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from Chabad Zich and Kadeshim in Montreal, Canada. It's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you, Tanya. Have a wonderful